So our final speaker, Padraic, currently Professor of Civil Engineering at NUIG Galway, former Dean of Engineering, Fellow of Engineers Ireland, member of Engineering the West team, which is a subcommittee of Engineers Ireland West region, charged with advising the committee in relation to the sustainable development of the West.
Thanks for that, Lorna, and also I'm just delighted to be here this evening and having the opportunity to talk on this very, very important topic. Just maybe start with, you mentioned two people in your opening introduction there, the Mayor of Chicago and also our late colleague Dr. Chris Coughlin. And Chris and I worked on many things in relation to transport, and I'll probably refer to them as I go through it, and we certainly will miss him. I also would have heard the Mayor of Chicago speak, and he truly was inspiring. He talked about cities and nation states, etc. And I think the whole role that Galway has as a major city in Ireland, and its role into the wider region, it is the only city, I suppose, from here up into Mayo, Sligo, etc. So it does have an important role, and the growth of Galway will be very much, I think, will have a big bearing on what happens in the rest of that important hinterland for our region. If I come back to one of Catherine's last comments there, I think to me a very, very important number is the 50% growth that is projected for Galway City in the National Development Plan. And I think that is going to be a really, really important thing that will have to happen. And I'd ask a couple of questions. One is, where will the people work and where will they live? Can they all live within the city? And yes, I would agree that a lot of them can live if we tackle these brownfield sites in the docks, and you mentioned some other places as well, Kent Station. There is enormous scope for people to live in those locations and to work close by. I think that will really have a big, big bearing on the city, and to me it's something that we have to achieve as a city. It will also, I think, contribute to the fact that if people are living closer to where they work, then we won't have the traffic problems won't be as great. And people have thrown out numbers here at various stages over the evening, and one of the numbers I'll mention or throw out is 54% of people who work in Galway City travel more than 10 kilometres to work. That's a long distance to travel. It does mean right now a lot of cars on the road, and that is a big problem. And if we are going to be growing by 50%, we can be certain that that problem is going to be much, much worse. So what do we need to do? I firmly believe in a lot of the comments made by people here tonight about sustainable transport and what needs to happen. We need a modal shift. We do need more people going into buses, going into cars, going on their bikes, walking. I'm a firm believer and strong supporter of light rail for Galway. I think that is part of the solution. So all of these things do need to happen, and they need to happen really, really quickly. Otherwise, Galway as a city will be left way, way behind. Cities, from what I can see driving around to other cities, Cork, Limerick, they are pressing ahead. They are, in my view, more progressive in their development as compared to what we as a city now are doing in Galway. So we do need to come up with I guess you're talking about an integrated plan for growth and for development right across the city. So we will integrate all these different elements of our growth together. That, I'm fairly convinced, is still missing. And there is a need for leadership from the City Council on issues like that. So if we come back to the issue of sustainable development, what do we need? Well, we need this integrated plan, integrating the planning process with transport and on into the social and economic aspects of life. We need that to be properly done. I don't think we have that in place right now. We need strong leadership. We need also the appropriate infrastructure. And there have been comments about the outer bypass or the ring road, whatever people want to say. I will say that to me is one of the most critical pieces of infrastructure that is required for this city. That if we don't have that road, I honestly cannot see how we will continually try to squeeze more and more people, whether they're on bikes or buses or whatever. You will not be able to squeeze an extra 40,000 people through the streets of Galway. So we need that road that will facilitate an awful lot of other things. What are the other things? I think if we have that happening, then we can tackle the issue of what happens around the city region. We can create far more bus lanes. We can create far more cycle lanes. We can improve those facilities significantly. But we do need to create the extra space, because right now Galway only has 5 lanes that cross the River Corrib. That is a huge constraint on people moving. So we will need to address that issue. And I think so I would look forward to the bypass very much, not because I can drive more, but because we as people can enjoy the city more, because we will have more space, because it will be very easy then to say, well, okay, you've got your bypass, okay, we can now say no cars here, and we should be very strict on policies like that. We'll say no cars here, buses only, bikes only, whatever the case might be. We will have huge opportunities. So it's about an opportunity that the city has now, but it needs to act quickly. Otherwise, we will, as I said, we will be left behind, and we will not meet these growth targets. We will have a city where it will be less favourable to live in, less attractive to live in, and that will certainly not help us. And it will not help the wider, let's say, Greater Connacht, West of Ireland region. So we need to address that as a priority. The other point I want to make, I suppose, again related to planning, and maybe I know Shane was talking about transportation engineers, and I certainly will stand up for them. I don't think that the problems that we have are necessarily down to that. They're down to I suppose, a lot of planning issues that haven't been properly handled. And you've mentioned several development plans over many years, many things that were not implemented. Galway does not get a lot in relation to funding for major developments. That's, again, observations, what I see. It's not happening, and we're always a long, long way behind. But coming back to the issue of people, where they work, where they live. We have the 10 kilometres issue I'll come back to again. Okay, we have too many people living too far away. We have large numbers of people who travel, particularly from the east side of County Galway, into the city every day. And again, we've, with Chris Coughlin, we did a lot of surveys into the various industrial estates on the eastern side of the city, and got very, very detailed information of who lives where, how they travel. Okay, for less than 1% of people from outside of the city travel to work by bus in the city. To me, that's an incredible stat. Okay, it's because people are living in isolated houses scattered across the country. So we need to address that as a planning issue as well. The number of once-off rural developments, that is certainly is a big contributor, in my view, to part of our transport issues here in the city. Okay, so these are some of the things that I see as being a priority for us in the next few years. We do need to get the bypass in place. It will take some time, I know that, but equally any other measures that we talk about here. Light rail will take a long time as well. Okay, other measures will take a long time, but we need to free up our city streets, give them back to the people of Galway. Then I think we will be in a much, much better situation, and we will have a much, much more sustainable transportation system in this city. Thank you for that.
Okay.